It has been 10 years since I last sat for a job interview, but here I was at the age of 44 looking to continue with the work I love. My name is Alex and I am a mechanical design engineer. I am new to the area and the truth is this company used to be one of my biggest rivals. I have a feeling they will offer me a job when they see what I can offer them. Soon it will hopefully all come together. My plan, that is, the plan I have to get rid of my cheating wife. I met Holly in 1993, and even now I can picture her from back then. She was beautiful and so confident. I, on the other hand, was shy and introverted. I guess being raised by a domineering bee of a mother would do that to a guy. She was also ably assisted by the ugly sisters. Their names were Megan and Anna, and they bullied me all through my childhood. Megan was the oldest and 13 years my senior. Anna was 10 years older. I guess I was a mistake and not planned, and they all blamed my birth on the separation of my parents. My dad left home in 1977 when I was 5 and never returned. Only recently have I found out the truth. Come on in, Mr. Price. It's good to meet you. I was immediately drawn to the warmness of Robert Williams, the owner of Sutton Hydraulics. He was a complete contrast to the bastard I was leaving. Thank you for seeing me, Mr. Williams, I said cordially. I took a seat in his impressive-looking office as he sat opposite me and began to speak. I'm surprised you're leaving Walker Engineering, Mr. Price. Please call me Alex, and I can't wait to be out of there, I replied. They're doing great work there, Mr. Price, Alex, sorry. He was still looking at me with a sense of confusion on his face. Well, I'm doing great work there, Mr. Williams. Please call me Robert, he interjected. As I was saying, I've been working hard the last 10 years, and it's been my designs that have driven the company forward. All to no real gratitude and recently to absolutely no respect. He looked at me seriously for a few seconds. If you're enjoying my content, consider joining my Patreon community. By becoming a patron, you'll get access to full parts of my videos much earlier than everyone else. Plus, you'll be supporting me to create even more awesome content for you. Check out the link in the description to join now. I had let nothing on about my situation, and for now, I was willing to keep it quiet. Well, without doubt, I want you here, Alex. I can offer you the package you have asked for, which accounts to a few £1,000s pay rise, but you also suggested on the phone that if you could help win us a few more contracts, you would like to be paid commission. Is that right? He asked, furrowing his brow. Yes. I hope it's not anything illegal, Alex. I'll have no part in that, he said. I raised my hand to assure him of my honest intentions. I have a lot to do with our customers. I speak to them on a daily basis. I know how much they are charged for our products, and I know the contracts pretty much inside out. I started to explain to a studious-looking Robert Williams. How would anybody know if we offer a better deal? And with my designs and your team here, we can become the top dogs in the game. What do you think? I offered confidently. He held out his hand and I shook it. I looked him in the eye and could see an honest and decent man stood before me. Another part of the plan was completed. Now back to my cheating wife, Holly. We met at Kingston University in South London. She was in her final year of a creative writing degree, and I was finishing my master's in mechanical engineering and design. Like I said, I was way too shy to approach her, and she was never short of attention from men. She was 5'5" with brown hair and big brown eyes. The type you could get lost in. She had a nice body, but I knew she was out of my league. The guys who chased her were all outgoing and popular. To my surprise, one of her friends got talking to me at a party and Holly came over and joined us. I had little experience of women, and I think being humble and bashful made me attractive to her. I managed to build up the courage to ask her out and began dating. I am not ashamed to say that she took my V, but after around 6 months of dating, I heard a rumor that she had been screwing around with other guys. I had no way to prove it and was afraid to confront her. Holly was a spoiled child. Her parents spoiled her and her sister Caroline, and most of our relationship, I had to put up with her acting like a princess. If she did not get her own way, she would create a fuss, and she wouldn't hesitate in creating problems in public, which just caused me embarrassment. My friends couldn't stand her and thought I should get rid of her, but I fell in love, and I had never really experienced that before. When we graduated, we both found jobs and managed to find a flat outside of Southampton in Hampshire. Her family were from there, and I had long since stopped having anything to do with mine. We were married a year later, and the following year we welcomed Sophie to the world, shortly followed by Ava a couple of years later. Holly loved being a mother, and everything between us seemed to be great from then on. I got promoted a few times, and then 10 years ago I started working for Walker Engineering. The increased salary and bonuses helped us to save for a better house, but like most people in the world, it was a bad year. The economic downturn meant that many people lost their jobs. Contracts were harder to win, so we all had to up our game and work longer hours for no extra money. It was at this time, when both the girls were full-time at school, that I realized Holly was having an affair with some guy from our old university. I was so focused on work that by the time it ended I was none the wiser who he was. My best friend Toby thought it was a guy in her class that had moved nearby. I confronted her once about it, and she just laughed in my face and told me to stop being stupid, but I could tell she was lying. The fact I was able to keep my job and the good salary meant I was in a great position to buy a nice house. Holly was always on at me to own a house that befitted our status, whatever that meant, but I conceded, as I always did, and we managed to buy a beautiful detached 5-bed house in Southampton. It was a buyer's market at the time, so we got a good price even though the mortgage was a little steep. One thing I did do that was out of character was to open a new savings account in my name only. I only put my end-of-year bonus in it, and with me being the sole breadwinner and the one responsible for all the finances and banking, I don't think Holly would have known about it even if I waved the receipts under her nose. In retrospect, this turned out to be one of the best things I could have done. I needed some protection because I was not sure if Holly planned on dumping me if the old lover ever returned. After that time, everything seemed to go back to a semblance of normality, and the girls were always a top priority for me. I encouraged them in education and made sure I spent plenty of time with them at weekends. In fact, it was me who took them to dance classes, concerts, and to the zoo on more occasions than I can remember. Holly always seemed too busy on her coffee outings with her other spoilt and lazy friends. I rarely socialized with the other husbands, but we all seemed to be henpecked and under the thumb to varying degrees. My friends used to sing "Under My Thumb" by the Rolling Stones to me when I had to cancel plans in favor of whatever Holly wanted to do. Even at work, the guys on the factory floor would make comments about my marital situation, especially Holly's control over me. It was only a few months ago that it all came to a head. Ava had just left for university, and for the first time in 18 years, Holly and I were alone. Both the girls were attending our old alma mater, and as I finished unpacking Ava's belongings into the apartment she would be sharing with her sister, she turned to me and asked why I was even with their mother. I was gobsmacked, as she was always such a quiet girl like her old dad. "Dad, I heard she's screwing around with Henry Walker at your company," Ava said. I can remember the tears in her eyes even now as she spoke. It was news to me, but I was not surprised. All these years I could have investigated her affairs and never did, for fear of breaking up the family and my girls suffering for it and resenting me like my sisters did my dad. I allowed her to see me because the alternative did not bear thinking about. I still loved her, but I loved what we had created even more. This news did a number of things to me. Firstly, I realized for the first time the level of animosity felt by my girls towards their mother was far greater than I could ever have imagined. They loved and respected me, but I knew they were disappointed I hadn't taken a tougher stance with Holly. Secondly, it brought up old feelings I felt towards the women in my life whilst growing up and how that contributed to my weaknesses. Finally, I realized at work I was being talked about and laughed at openly by the staff, and most noticeably by Henry Walker, who just happened to be the nephew of the owner Jack and the man Simi. I did not know what to do, but I knew I couldn't go on allowing this, especially now my youngest daughter was aware of the ridicule I was receiving at the hands of Holly. I knew I had to confront her. My heart was racing as I was sitting at the kitchen table waiting for Holly to return home. When she finally appeared, I found I was unable to speak again. She just looked at me in a way I can only describe as apathy and with contempt. She said nothing to me as she emptied her bags into the cupboards. Finally, I spoke. "Are you having an affair, Holly?" She turned to face me, slightly blushing, but with no hesitation she replied, "I wouldn't call it an affair, darling." I was shocked and sickened by her admission, and yet waited silently in anticipation of her explanation of how screwing another man was not classed as an affair. "You are a wonderful man, Alex. You're a great provider, and you're my best friend, but there are things you can't provide me, and I'm not ashamed to say I want it all," she said bluntly and openly. "So that means you're cheating on me," I said, dismayed by her brazen approach to infidelity. "Only my body," she said, "not my heart or my mind, Alex, that belongs to you." My head was spinning and my stomach was in knots. The sheer unabashed cheek of what she was saying left me speechless. I never deny you, Alex, and all I'm doing is exploring with a couple of younger guys, she admitted. What? I screamed. I never raised my voice, and my reaction took her aback. She walked around the table and took a seat opposite me. Don't shout at me, Alex, she said, regaining her composure. You admit to cheating on me with two guys, and I'm supposed to be quiet, I replied. I love you, Alex, but this is how things are going to be. Live with it, or I'll leave and be with them anyway, she said, issuing me both a threat and an ultimatum. I just sat looking at her when her face softened. I thought for a minute she had seen the hurt in my face. Everyone does it these days, Alex. My friends have had flings with younger men, and they say it makes the marriage better, she said. I was in shock. I was struggling to absorb it all before, but now Holly was actually trying to justify her adultery by telling me all her friends were cheats too. As for the notion that it would make our marriage better was contemptuous at best. She did not care for the marriage or me, only the comfort and security I could provide. I spoke again. So I can have another woman. Is that what you're saying, Holly? She looked at me for a few seconds and then laughed in my face. I sat in silence as she continued to laugh before trying to control herself. Yeah, right, Alex. Come on, be serious. You struggle to speak to women you have known for years. What chance are you going to have to chat someone else up? She was openly mockingly me whilst continuing to giggle, and I felt embarrassed and ashamed, but she refused to let up. This is how it's going to be, Alex, so don't ruin a good thing. I'm still your wife. I still love you, and I still come home to you every night. Do not mess up your life by complaining about it or doing something you'll regret. She left me at the table contemplating what had just happened to my life, to my world. She was so open about her activities that I realized she did not care for me one little bit. I did not care if her friends were all cheating, but that did not give her the right to be one. Not only that, but she actually had the audacity to threaten me. I was angry, very angry. Full part of this story you can find on my Patreon. It will available only there.